Welcome tonight, guys. I'm Vulture Culture, and tonight we are checking out Play, which is a collaboration between Novation and Klevgrand. It's another product they've collaborated on, and it's completely free if you have a Novation Launchkey MIDI controller. I've got the 61 key in front of me. This is the Mark IV, but it's super cool that Novation and Klevgrand have collaborated to put this out, and it really expands all the free stuff you get when you get a Novation Launchkey. Now, I've actually already done a video on everything else you get for free, a bunch of really cool G4 software plugins and other stuff by Klevgrand. And that link is in the description. So if you're new here, you haven't checked the channel out before, go check that out as well. But tonight, we're just going to be going through basically some demos I made with this, so you can hear what the sounds are like and also how everything works. MIDI Alchemy, welcome. Sari, welcome. Yes, I am feeling better. I apologize if there's any coughing during the stream. I'm just getting over a bit of a cold. So the first sound here is Belonging Keys, which is sort of a everything in its right place sort of Prophet-5 sound. And if we go here, we can actually see that it was sampled from the Prophet-5 here. And it's very beautiful. Mauricio, welcome. And what's super great is it's already set up to integrate with your Launchkey. So you'll notice we have on the screen here, we've got these pink, yellow, blue, and violet buttons here. And it's pink, yellow, blue, and violet on the keypad. It's a little blown out because of my camera, but you can see that we can actually turn on, say, the chorus. By hitting the button. So you can see it's like kind of like a perfect one-to-one, and there's a cassette mode, which is super fun. And one thing that Klevgrand has really nailed with this is that sound that they go for. They love the sound of like the distortion of cassette tapes, the wobble, the warble. They really go for that. Spinner is sort of like I think it's like a panning modulation effects thing. Basically like a tremolo, sort of almost Leslie type thing. And then we can actually freeze the reverb. So if I crank the reverb here, and we just turn that off. So it's a really cool way too, if you want to make some cool samples yourself. One way you could do that is play an interesting chord, right? Like something kind of non-traditional maybe. Record that sound and then pitch shift that around, and that can be a really interesting bed for a track. So we have other features too, but before I dive into that, we'll just turn the reverb down here. And you can see we have attack decay, and this is all mapped directly to the pots on the MIDI controller here. So for instance, if I bring this to stay down and I bring the release down, now we'll have more of a swell type of a sound, which I think is super cool. I'm going to turn this up just a little bit here. Right, so that's, we always have that attack, decay, sustain, release. We can control the cutoff and the resonance, so let's crank that up a bit. So this doesn't have poly aftertouch. So this is a Launchkey, doesn't even have aftertouch. It has poly aftertouch on the pads up here, which are playable still. These are low pads right now. So the pads are poly aftertouch, the keybed's not. If you want aftertouch keybed from Novation, their highest end MIDI keyboard, which costs about twice this, has all of those features and a deeper sequencer and stuff like that. But I think most people nowadays go for this. Sean Johnson, welcome. How's it going, everybody? So excited. Brett, how's it going, my friend? So one thing about the filter is it's not the most analog sounding. It's good though. It's just to get it done. We have the filter envelope amount. And then shape. Seems to be controlling the filter decay in this particular case. Which I think sounds pretty good. Now, what's great about this plugin, and again, this is all free if you have a launch key, is we have a bunch of stuff, not just synth sounds, which are sampled from the modern sequential and Novation stuff. But we also have drum kits. So in this particular example, I use the rough vinyl drum kit to make that intro. So let's check out how that sounds. I love how the graphics and stuff change. And you can see that all of our controls change, but they're all still mapped up here perfectly. And so these are our sounds. Delays built in. Of course, we could kill the delay over here if we wanted. None if we want. And we also have reverb, which is a good example or moment here to show that we can change out the different types of reverb we want to work with. So I think warm works for this, but if you wanted to change it to say bright, you know, we could change the decay. If that was your particular persuasion, but I think this one in particular sounds pretty good the way it is. And we have a compressor built in, and that's on everything. So without the compressor, and we can even see on the screen how much gain reduction is happening. That way we can see how much it's getting slammed, which I think is giving it that kind of Klevgrand character. So anyways, here's the sounds. It all sounds like it's sampled off of vinyl, so it's perfect for either like a hip hop type, you know. You know, you could get in there and have all sorts of fun. I don't know if it works the same way as that, Sam. It might. So, and again, we always have chorus, cassette, spinner, and freeze here. So if, for instance, we want to freeze the reverb on that particular hit, we can do that. If we want to add, if we want to make this sound like it's been recorded to a cassette, we have that option. The tremolo. Yeah, who needs a TR-1000? And then we could even have multiple things on at the same time if we wanted, but that's a little crazy for this. And we have all the control for things here. So this is acting as like sort of a trim on the kick drum here. If we wanted that. Same thing with the snare. We have control over all of that. The pitch of the... Right? And in this case, we have a filter and distortion. So in my demo, I actually brought the filter down a bit. And we could also hear it without the distortion. If there's any rate, in my opinion, it's model the sort of dark, low fidelity, grungy sort of distortion you get from cassettes and other analog gear. And so that's what's giving this such a great flavor. And I love, Novation could have paired with a lot of companies, but they went with Klevgrand, and I haven't talked to them about this, but I imagine the reason is because Klevgrand's got a lot of flavor. This is like a spicy sound. This isn't just like a boring, there's not a single sample in this that's just, kind of like whatever. Yeah, S900, I've got one right over there, and it's got that sort of a sound. So let's check out some of the other stuff that I used in this first track here. Let's go to a pad called Blunt Force that I used. And you can see it's got tags here too for bright and huge. So I had this turned down pretty low, and it was sampled from the Prophet Rev 2. If we wanted to pad it out, we could just use the attack. I'm so used to using my mouse, but really I should be using my... And you can hear that there's modulation and stuff built into these already, whether that's from the original sample or programmed in afterwards. I don't know. We have a brightness control. Really kind of fattens it up. I like it much better with the brightness off. Super cool. I used another one called Troubled Beginnings here. And again, we've had all these beautiful graphics. I think this is a gorgeous looking plugin. I want to know what they sampled this from. From the Rev 2 as well. It's got that bright but sort of still analog. Pliskin, I might be incorrect about this. My understanding is it will work with any launch key, but the Mark IVs have the best integration. But I could be wrong about that. Definitely just check the link. And what's also cool is when I first turned this on, I was like, oh, it's not working, but I had to update my firmware. So just be aware of that. If you turn it on and you're like, why isn't it working? You've got to get in there and do that. And then let's go check out some bass. And I use the Wimbledon Womp. And this looks like it was sampled from what? The Peak, the Novation Peak. Right, so this is all the Focusrite synths, right? They gave them access to. Almost sounds like a Rhodes to me, to be honest with you. Like if you just play it like keys. But sounds pretty good. We've got a vintage knob, which is interesting. Little bit of LFO motion in there. Let's open up the cutoff. Yeah, definitely to me sounds more like a Rhodes type of a sound. I'm excited for you, Sam. I haven't seen any of the Tron movies. I need to go all the way back to the original. So those are the presets I use for that. Now what I want to do is give you guys this really cool one. What was it called? It was Golden Reese. This is a really badass one. Really big sounding. And I used it to create this sort of drum and bassy sort of vibe over here. Let me just make sure I'm on the right part here. And
the drugs I took seemed to light up my brain.
Actually, can I get a scum cheers real quick? Cheers, guys.
The drugs I took seemed to light up my brain. Suddenly I realized the power I held. the power to rule, to make the world grovel at my feet. We'll soon put the world right now, Kim. We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there. Murders of great men, murders of little men, just to show we make no distinction. We might even wreck a train or two. Just these fingers around a signalman's throat.
Big shout outs to you if you know where that sample is from. So yeah, this patch is just you know I love a notchy, Reese bass sound. And so all of that, including the drums, was all from Play as well. So this is a good example of you're not just locked into pretty warbly cassette lo-fi type sounds, but also could get truly disgusting in the best way possible. Nasty gorgeousness. And so the drums, I used this drum kit called Clean Strike, and I think this is, for me, my favorite sounding. And I also like to point out that you can see what you're looking at, so it's kick, snare, whatever, just in case you don't see it on your, because you can't see it on the actual hardware, right? Then we've got this hi-hat. And you can hear that there's like a crunch on the hat. We could turn that off if we want it cleaner, right? But it's kind of nice with it on, right? I mean, we could turn this off and we've got kind of like a nice... kind of whatever sound, but once you get the crunch going, then it sounds like Klevgrand. Right? I mean, what an industrial... What in the 9-inch nails is that? And then we've got a filter again. Distortion. So that's no distortion so far. So let's turn the crunch down, but the distortion up, and see what we get here. And it's got that kind of distressor sort of character. A little bit of maybe some of all of that might be nice. Had the chorus on there too. Doesn't really matter. Reverb. Listen to that crunchy, growling sort of character to the delay there. And we have control over that, right? See, it's that filter in there. We can actually control. It doesn't go into full self-oscillation, but it's got that sort of a vibe, right? Definitely that tape echoey sort of vibe, and same thing with the reverb. We've got all sorts of control here. I mean, so it's very good. And a lot of different flavors you could get out of it. So a lot of fun. What else did we use on this particular one? So I had this little plucky thing going on. And it was actually, I think for the arpeggiator, which of course we have an arpeggiator, you know, built in on this. So I think the idea was to use the arpeggiator on Launchkey, but I just used it like. And this was sampled from the Prophet-5. And again, we have all of this control. It's almost sounding like a Kwai SX240, you know? Let's check out the different reverb sounds here. Normal, dark. Oh, not really that dark. Bright is bright. Like, unless you're going for that, you know, for this type of thing, I would use it maybe on some drums. Cold. Warm's probably the best. Boomy is very boomy. So warm's good. Let's decay it up and bring the amount all the way up and just vibe. I guess it's a wet dry knob, so Don, welcome. Can it be downloaded to Bass Station 2? This is a plugin that works with Launchkey specifically, but a lot of the samples actually are from the Bass Station. So if we just run through, I don't know which one. Well, yeah, so Chopped Thoroughly here is actually sampled from a Bass Station 2. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, what else did I use on this particular guy? I used this cassette flute pad, which I'm assuming is some sampled from the Rev 2, maybe sampled to a cassette, and I played one of these weird chords. Really Silent Hilly sort of a thing. So that's what I used for that track, I believe. Is there anything else I missed? Oh, and this lead hot mic sampled from the Peak again. And just a cool sound. Honestly, you could use it for bass. Pretty cool. And again, we've got interesting. So just another really cool, very flavorful sound here. So let's finish this off real quick. I've got one more demo for you to play. And this one was one of my favorites because I used this key sound, Capricious Keys. And it was just so cool, this sort of vibe. So I'll let you guys hear that. Can I get a scum cheers in the chat? Cool. Sort of a sound. Yeah, it's like everything's ready to go, Saria. It's a good way to say it. So again, this was sampled from the Prophet-5, and I think it sounds great. If it's a little too bright for you, you could bring the filter envelope down. And you can hear they've kind of baked a little bit of warble into that as well. There's a compressor too. I think I mentioned that earlier, but we could turn that off. And it's an auto gain compressor. So you can see that it basically brings up sustain always, which is good because sometimes you don't need stuff to be too dynamic. You want it to be a little bit more in your face. Could you run a line from your audio out on your laptop headphone jack and into a Behringer 2600 using this as the source? I suppose so. There's no reason not, right? So let's look at the drums I used for that, which I thought sounded really great. It was called Winter Glow, jagged ice cold kit with sharp edges and frozen tension. This is like the Klevgrand kit, in my opinion. So it's really like tech, dirty, grimy sound. Just so much interesting stuff. So with the distortion all the way down, let's turn the distortion down. We actually could get a really kind of clean tech. Not as crazy, but the distortion kind of is the flavor, right? But let's turn it down so we can hear what kick stretch does. Kind of like the pitch stretch, I think. Right, so we got a bunch of different stuff, but with the distortion all the way up here. So it's one of those things where I think Klevgrand just really has a vibe to what they like to do. And here, yeah, it sounds like the TR-1000 without distortion. Adapt, have a great night. I'll catch you next week. Yeah, so really cool. and we've still got all the same options. So for instance, we could store that reverb or that one, or even, you know, pretty crazy. And of course you can use it with anything you want, like Crystal Visions is talking about. But it just is a very nice thing to integrate in with the Launchkey. So what else did I use? This really cool patch called Heavy Rider, which is a bass patch here, I think. And Nasty Reese. Very mono too, sampled from the Peak. I did the keys. I used the cassette brass sound for like a little layer underneath in there. I appreciate you, Dr. Cynthy Pants. Really wonderful sort of a sound to it. Little fifth in there probably. So yeah, real quick, I just want to run through kind of everything else now that we've had a second just to hear some like audio demos of what this can sound like altogether. I think you're starting to get the good and the bad of this plugin. We'll get into the pros and the cons a little bit later, but one thing is, if you like stuff that has a lot of character, which is, by the way, the reason I've bought all of these vintage synths is because they've got character, you know? So if you like character, doesn't sound like everything else, then this is great. So let's run through the drum kits real quick. Breeze Louise. Cold Stone. Turn this up a little bit. Let's wake the subwoofers up. I mean, these toms are... I like that they're like industrial sounding. Foley textures, that's a big part of their sound too. Old tape. Red top. So kind of in the neighborhood here. Good dog, welcome. So those are the drum kits. We got, that's a good amount of kits, but not a lot of kits. And they do have a similar sort of neighborhood in terms of the flavor, you know? It's kind of like when you go to a Cajun restaurant, like everything is going to be a little Cajun. But sometimes you want Chinese. Sometimes you want, you know, fucking corn dogs and shit. So there's also that element. If you're looking at this, if you're looking at buying a Launchkey for all of the cool software it comes with, I have done, again, that video where it shows everything else you get. There's another drum plugin by Klevgrand you get with it, but it too kind of has this like found sound sort of character to it. Every one of these drum kits has a cartoon sounder for. That's accurate. So, you know, keep that in mind. Let's go through some of these other presets I haven't checked out yet. So these are some leads. Do you like our owl from the Prophet Rev 2? Both are great. Hollow Rockets. You can use it without a Launchkey, but you only get it with a Launchkey. practically a bass sound. That's the interesting thing about leads. Metallic Jelly. Very interesting. This is one of those examples. Ed from Earth, how's it going? Can I get a scum cheers for Ed from Earth in the chat, please, real quick? One thing is some of these patches are so warbly that they're a little unusable in my opinion. This was actually from the Novation Nova, which is the desktop version, which came out in about 99, of the Supernova, which came out in about 98 or so. Virtual analog. Can I get some scum 6 in the chat? I have to say, one of the biggest things that Klevgrand has changed my mind about is the Novation Nova. I might have to check one out because some of my favorite patches actually in this plugin were sampled from the Nova, not the expensive analog synths. Slap that chap. Listen to that fucking... What a badass digital sound. Aquatic, to that point, too bad it only comes with Launchkey now. I don't know if in the future it'll be like some of the other stuff where you could purchase it separately. As far as I'm aware, today it comes for free with Launchkey and it's sort of built to be used with Launchkey, but you can use it without it. And, you know, especially if at some point you're thinking about getting like a smaller Launchkey. In my original review of the Launchkey, I said one of the things about, like, I love a big 61 key bed, but I actually think the best version of the Launchkeys are the really affordable, you know, short ones that you could take with you on a plane or something like that. All of them come with this for free. So that would be where I would say this could be kind of a cool thing here. Stab chap. They're kind of tweakable. So that could be another con for some people, is this only gets you so far. Right, we've got control, but we don't have an independent ADSR for both the filter and the amplitude. So that's where this plugin also sort of runs up against a wall for maybe a lot of the viewers of this channel who are some real synth snobs. Can I get some scum snobs in the chat now? You know, for the guys and gals, them theys and gays who are good at, you know, 6-stage envelopes, and they're used to synths that have at least 3 envelopes that are 6-stage. This is going to be just too simple. This is another one that's just fucking pitchy. It's kind of okay when you're using it for chords. Moving on to some basses here. We've got that chopped patch. Really good for like any sort of synth wavy thing. Crumbled cookie. Again, that Nova just sounds so... really nasty. Digital Descent, also the Nova. Digital Grind. Punch. I really wanted to use Electric Eels on Toast on one of my tracks, but it was just a little too bright there. Bass Station II. Back to the Nova. We've checked out Golden Reese and Heavy Rider, Heavy Wander. Sounds like some interesting hard sync. So again, really aggressive bass line sound. So if you're not into dirty music, this might not be perfect for everybody. I could see some people who are into making like some hip hop or some lo-fi beats, you know, more calm genres, being like, this is ridiculously over pushed. You can hear definitely that Klevgrand have a taste for a certain type of sound. So we've checked all of those. So let's run through the pads. I'm going to try to go a little quicker here. Beautiful Bloom in Nora. Here's another little gripe I have, is we don't have that many patches in here. And you'll notice that Believe Me and Bloom and Nora are sampled from the same, use the same set of samples from the Rev 2. Different effects and LFO movement or whatever, but it's the same samples, which for me is kind of a downer. Now, I think it's only 2.6 gigs worth of data, but that's around the 100 different patches that I have in my Vintage Synth sample pack that you could get in the description. So for me, that's kind of a downer that when we look at all, there's not that many patches here, and you know, that they're reusing the samples as opposed to giving us all interesting new stuff. So you can hear bubble exception keys, or is the same. If we go to keys and we go to belonging, you can hear that that's the same. It's capricious. No, as not as belonging is the same as right places. So all three of those patches are the same sample source, which is fine, by the way. I don't begrudge that, but you can hear that pretty clearly that it's the same. This isn't that different. Has some interesting LFO stuff. Really like these cassette ones. God bless you, Nick. This was a very good hold for motion. I saw him at KnobCon, who sells like things you can hook up to plants to play your Eurorack. Man, the Rev 2 just sounds so good too. Don't sleep on a Rev 2. Silver strings. Trouble Beginnings is really great. says unstable, you know it's going to be on the borderline not playable. Almost done here. Here's the key sounds. It's seasick, right? Like I would imagine it would be like with the modulation all the way up. I guess for lo-fi beats, sometimes you want it that far out, but... That's a pretty good. Lots of sort of steel pan tones here. It's just too seasick for me. I guess I'm getting old. Right places, of course, one of the most famous Prophet-5 patches from Radiohead, Road to Fidelity. Shapes. More of that hand pan type thing. And then just some sound effects here. Sorry for any of the coughing, still getting over this cold. See, these two patches are almost identical, right? And then the drum kit. So one of the first things that I'll say that might be a negative for somebody, I want to just say this is for free on top of everything else you get with a Launchkey. So from that perspective, who can complain about anything? But I don't know if anybody would watch this channel if it wasn't for me complaining about shit that bothers me. Excuse me. So let's jump in on what bothers me. I've kind of already alluded to a bunch of it. One is the relatively small number of samples and the smaller number of patches. I do think that when you think like a G4 software synthesizer is going to have at least like 300 fucking patches in it. Same thing with Cherry Audio and Arturia, the competition to Novation. Analog Lab has like 2,000 patches in it or something crazy like that. This feels a little tight as far as patches, because when I do streams like this, we almost can never, I think it's true to say we can never cover everything in a plugin, right? And this might be one of the first times where I'm like, well, okay, we've basically covered it. There's not anything you're going to find in here aside from like maybe having some fun with the delay and stuff that I didn't mess around with too much. But basically it's all here. You now know everything. Another thing that kind of bothers me, and I don't know if it bothers anybody else, but we've got these 8 encoders here and they're fine. You know, this is not the highest end Novation MIDI controller. It's the mid tier, right? But we also have these 8 faders over here. So how awesome would it have been if it was like ADSR for the filter and ADSR, and then we got one more actually over here. I thought there was 8, but I guess we have 9. So then this could be like filter resonance or envelope amount maybe for the filter. So like your volume and your filter and your envelope amount. Then you could have cutoff, resonance, and 6 other knobs to control stuff. So if you're going to make a bespoke plugin for a piece of hardware, a piece of MIDI control hardware, am I missing something that they wouldn't just make it so that it uses the hardware, like all of it? Like only using half of it is kind of weird. And they also could have done more even with these pads, except for the drum stuff, of course. So it's interesting, right? Yeah, I mean, and maybe it's because this is used in other stuff. Like if you have the ARP on, I don't know, is this? No, I don't think so. It just seems like a missed opportunity because on all of these patches, we have ADSR, but it's just for the envelope. And like in this one in particular, we don't have any control over what's going on with the filter shape. It looks like we have some control over LFO amount. We don't even really have like any way to control the rate of that LFO. So I don't know if it's tempo synced or not. So there could have been more control here, because we have essentially, 17 knobs and faders to work with, right? Am I right? Yeah, 17 of them. So that's pretty good. That's not bad. Right. Yeah. The Novation Zero Mark II, that would be kind of like a comparable product from the same company. And I get that the kids have moved in a different direction, but still. So one other thing here, we can play what we have here. Let's pick a different patch. Let's go back to keys and go to right places. Just such a great patch. And you can see it echoes here. But we can also play if we wanted to, just to audition it. We have some white dots here. I don't know really what they're doing. We can't audition notes with these. So this isn't like a virtual drum pad, but it is the lowest octave here, which I imagine we can change in the actual hardware. But again, it's just kind of, okay, what are we really doing here with that? Novation is owned by Focusrite, along with Sequential and some other companies. So it's a cool collaboration, but it leaves me missing some stuff, right? And I think it's great, but I can't help but just think that their main competition's got to be Arturia, because, and you can get the Arturia Keylab Essential or whatever for, I was looking at the 61 keys, and I think it's like $60 cheaper for the Arturia one, right? Neither of them have aftertouch. This has the polyphonic aftertouch pads, which aren't really used here in any meaningful way that I'm aware of. I don't know of any. It would be cool if it was like routed to the filter or something. So yeah, it's like, I feel bad bitching because it's such a cool thing. I love that Klevgrand has such a unique flavor, and I feel bad complaining because I'm so happy that they're getting to work with Novation to create really cool stuff. It's just not enough to compete with Arturia. And the G4 stuff, at least that comes with a substantial number of patches. But also consider they're going up against Native Instruments, right? And if you get a Native Instruments, you've got like Machine Light or something built into that you get for free with one of those, as well as Monarch and Prism, like a bunch of synths you get with that are kind of comparable, at least to the G4 stuff. I think the G4 stuff sounds better. So that's a point for Novation. But I'm just thinking for like the average beginner who hasn't, basically given away any chance of them getting ahead in life and spent all their money on synthesizers instead of that, when you think of it just as being like like this is a product to help sell a MIDI controller, they have tough competition is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. I feel bad because this is an awesome thing. I love the integration. I love like where you can feel the heart is there from Klevgrand and Novation. And so that's awesome. It's just that if I'm being honest, and I was in the market for a MIDI controller, and I was thinking to myself, okay, Novation, Arturia, Native Instruments, M Audio are all kind of in the same ballpark in terms of quality. Yeah, with like Poly Aftertouch is interesting too, because the Korg Poly Aftertouch controller, which is going to be cheaper than the Novation Mono Aftertouch controller, actually uses a Hydrasynth keybed. So the keybed in the Korg stuff now is licensed from Hydrasynth. Right, so you get Bass Station free with the SL versions also. So it's a kind of it's a mixture here. Hector, how's it going? Arturia is no Citroen. I don't know what you mean. So yeah, I think that concludes my bitching. I want to see if there's anything else that I'm upset about. I think it's good, but like, it's not that many like lead sounds. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 lead sounds in this plugin. That's probably not enough. Now, what they could do, if this is successful, Klevgrand could continue to sample stuff the same way that my vintage sample pack is growing slowly. And they might go, okay, we're going to add some more samples over time, and we'll just kind of update this and give you guys more patches. They might open up that and let more people create patches and submit them or something like that, so that there's more to do. See, there's a user patch section, but I don't see like, so we could save stuff, but I don't see like an init patch anywhere, right? It's kind of weird. So I don't know. Does that seem like we could save what we've done, but what are we really saving? We're just saving these knob positions? I don't know. It kind of feels like there might be a version 2 of this that comes out at some point with a few more things under the hood or something like that. Arturia Keystep, I actually don't know off the top of my head, the little guys, if those come with, I think all of the Arturia stuff comes with Analog Lab, which again has basically presets from the entire V collection that you can use. So they have stiff competition. Native Instruments, of course, with Complete. My thing about Native, though, is Native is really into getting you to buy into their whole ecosystem. They basically want you to sell all your gear and only use Native Instruments stuff because it integrates very tightly. But I found it frustrating. I used to have a blacked out, you could see it in some of my oldest videos, as well as my music video for Spitfire with Miss FD, a blacked out, the 61 key at the time, most awesome complete controller they had. And it was just super frustrating using it with anything else if it wasn't a Native Instruments product. So I think it's more like Novation, Arturia. M Audio is actually a really great controller. I really like the way their 61 keybed feels with Aftertouch. It's got a great, like, you sink in as you press the Aftertouch down, like a Fatar. It's really nice, actually. But I don't know what kind of software you get with that. I'm sure they have something. But registry hack your copy of Absinthe 4. Absinthe is an awesome plugin, by the way. Definitely one of my favorite things Native Instruments has ever done. So with that, I hate to kind of end it on a downer, here's something pretty. That's a good price, Sam. So with that, I think we can call it for the evening. It's been fun. Next week, we're going to be checking out some more software. I'm sorry, guys. I know you love the hardware streams. I do too. We're going to be checking out Cherry Audio's Trident Mark III software, which came out yesterday. It's their emulation of the Trident, which is basically the Poly 6 behind me, but with, I'll step this way so you can see it, the Poly 6 behind me, but with 2 VCOs per voice as opposed to 1. So what we're going to do actually is take that Poly 6, slap it up here, and do a comparison, because aside from the fact that I won't be able to detune 2 oscillators, it should be a pretty good comparison to see how close it comes. And yes, there will be some Emacs content in the future. I ended up buying Shane in the chat last week was talking about selling one. Guess what? I bought that bad boy. So we've got the my voice is starting to give out on me. We've got the Juno 6 versus the Quai SX240 stream. That's going to be coming up too. So that's probably the next couple of weeks. We're going to be looking at that. Oh, I didn't know Full Bucket made a version of it. That's super cool. I gotta get in touch with Full Bucket and see if we can't do something. I mean, I don't know what they would do. It's all free, so it's not like they're going to give me any NFRs or something like that. But anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Let's get some music going here. And I will see you next week.